Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind's brand new show. This is Acsom from Barrowfield to the Barrowlands, so called because we're in the heart of the Barrows. We're at Barrows Art and Design, and we're here with a player who certainly trained for some time at Barrowfield. It's Jackie McNamara. What was your memories of that place, Jackie?
All good, and some not so good over the years. Early days, yeah, but scars to show, you know, when they put the floodlights up, and obviously witnessed a few scraps and different moments at the training ground over 10 years there.
See, when you're talking about the floodlights, right? I mean, people talk about Scottish football being tin pot, but there were certain elements of Celtic that were a wee bit ramshackle, and Barrowfield was historically one of them. What was the story with the floodlights?
Well, that was state of the art back then. Even the bumps when you're doing the wee passing drills, getting over the sand, you see the pitches now, and we were looking for bobbles. No, the floodlights, we kind of joked, because the gaffer, Tommy, we would do double sessions, we would back, and he would keep training. If he could train all night, and we would joke saying, we're going to be training at night now as well, because we put the floodlights in. A couple of times we actually did as well. And the first day went up, I smashed into it as I was crossing. It was a good cross, to be fair. And I looked back at a cross and smashed in as I fell down the wee side bit, down the back at the Barrowfield.
The ditch.
Down the ditch, and I come up, my eye was bleeding, and the gaffer was looking for a bit of sympathy. He was like, "Why are you limping?" So, the next day the crash mats were on. Health and safety took over, and the crash mats on it the next day.
It's incredible, but some of the scrapes, the famous one obviously is Henrik Larsson getting headbutted by Tosh. A few people deny that they saw it. I think Tom Boyd denies that he's seen it as well. Jackie, you seen it, eh? What happened?
was that a headbutt or was that
No, it was just a... sorry.
Oh, was it?
Proper... To be fair, how Henrik stood up for it, I would have been smelling salts. I'd have been out of the game. It was a dilly.
So what was...
It was brewing, and it wasn't like something between the two of them. I think it was more collective at the time. You had a lot of the boys come in, you know, the formads came in, and it was a kind of... Vim was just setting his stall out with everything, and nobody knew where they stood. So Vim would, the day before the Rangers, it was the Rangers game I played the next day, he would have a team, like, maybe 11v11, but 10 of the 11 you knew were starting. And so I'm not playing tomorrow. Some of them are, so Tosh was maybe in the starting 11 going to Ibrox, and then nobody knew where they stood. And with the foreign ones, it wasn't anything through it between the two of them, but it was more collective. And then have you kind of rustle and hang it off like you do, and he stood up, and then Tosh just cracked him one, and it was a dillion, to be fair. Henrik got the black eye the next day, but if you're going to headbutt somebody, not one of the best foreign players that come, but in fairness to Tosh, you know, they made up a wee bit of time later, and Tosh talks about it now and stuff, but it was a bad one.
See the thing now, imagine that, and within seconds it would be all over the social media channels. It would be massive news, but back then you could kind of bury it. I mean, Tommy, you played football as well. That kind of thing happens in the training pitch though, doesn't it?
I've not played to Jackie's level, unfortunately. I only ever played junior football, but I can testify that at training it gets tasty, and particularly I associate with what Jackie said there, because nobody wants to be knowing the team, and you know, when you get it set up at training, as we did when we were playing junior, you would know by the way it was set up who was going to be playing on a Saturday. And that caused resentment, because everybody thought they deserved to be in a starting lineup. So it meant a lot of tackles were particularly brutal. And you had wee niggles. I'm glad that Jackie's clarified that there wasn't anything brewing, particularly between Tosh and Henrik, because I know what he means. When something's brewing and it's brewing in the whole park, it doesn't mean it's between the two individuals. In other words, it's any one instant could make it explode. And I've been in situations like that before. Guys have got lamped, guys have got black eyes, bust noses. That's just in Parlock. That was just the Parlock. But the point I was going to ask Jackie about in terms of what that meant, because sometimes, I suppose, if you've got a team of winners, they want to win, whether it's tiddlywinks or whether it's a practice match. I mean, you must have had that, did you?
Actually, in a funny way, it brought us all together, because after that we went and socialised for the rest of the season. We'd go golfing or go-karting, we'd go drinking, which we'd done a lot of that.
Right.
To deal with the pressure of stopping the 10.
Right.
It was one of the hardest seasons mentally probably to deal with, but we all got on after that, and it did bring us all together in a funny way.
It's healthy passion, isn't it? It's like you need that sometimes to have that within a squad, and as you say, I think that team, especially, there was so many captains within the side, and probably everyone was passionate, and sometimes that can be quite healthy. We've all played at different levels, and you need that in a dressing room, I feel.
My level's in the back garden with the wee boy, I seen. I don't know what anybody's told you about that. Talking about nights out and all that, right? We were in Dunoon, of all places, the other week, and we were getting told a lot of stories about a Celtic player called Philippe from Bordeaux. Now, you played a wee bit with Paul McStay, didn't you? Did you ever see Philippe coming out? Because apparently, once he did a few red wines, turned into a different character. Is that true?
I think I'd been at the club 6 months. It was near the end of the season, actually. I think it was to do with Granty's testimonial, and we're over in Jersey and with a couple of beers, and Paul's the quietest, nicest man you ever meet, and he just this crazy guy, Philippe from Bordeaux.
You go with a drinks coat.
Aye, and he winded me up. I thought he was winding me up when I was there, and the next day you see him, he's like, I went over, and the whole thing was just bizarre. You know, we flew over to Jersey in this 6-seater. I hated flying this wee thing up and down. It took us about 4 hours to get to Jersey. With Peter Grant, and was there another Tom Boyd and Paul. But I'd witnessed Philippe very close up.
Imagine.
Also, about the must be like, you see some players and they come across, you think, oh, they're dead quiet.
Yeah.
Is there any players that we would think are really quiet, but they're an absolute animal when they're out, or they're just not that you would see on the camera?
They're totally different. Like Stefan Mahi. Stefan Mahi was psycho on the pitch and all, to be fair, at times, wasn't he? He would just throw a tantrum, you know, at training sometimes, and he would just walk in. And then when it was to Martin came, he'd done it, you know, someone Stefan could come in and batter you and hurt you and be clumsy, but if you do it to him, you totally take the hump. Yeah. And he would just walk off for putain merde and walk you in. But when Martin O'Neill came, he just went, keep walking, it'll cost you 2 weeks, and you see Stefan just coming back. So he was, but with a drink, he went crazy. Just for a drink as well. Fine.
He was a quality player though. I mean, we got him for PSG. That was a right good PSG side. He played against us. Yeah.
I liked him. I thought he was a good signing for us.
Yeah, and then he started shaving head like Travis Bickle and all that kind of stuff as well.
But a Mohican bits at the back and the wild thing.
Yeah.
A good lad. He could be a big part of the success that season.
See, when you're talking about guys coming from overseas, Jackie, right? You kind of seen that in its earliest form at Celtic, because although there had been maybe Rudy Vata before him, Shuggy Edvaldsson, the two Poles in the 80s, Jackie and Shuggy, it started becoming more regular when you were at Celtic. How much different was that to try and initiate them into the squad? Was a big part of that taking them out and having a few berries?
Yeah, I mean, the Scandinavians, they'd all speak English anyway. The big Reaper, he'd been at West Ham, Morton Viekors at Dundee. These guys there, Henrik, I think English was decent. Reggie would go to any night out. Even if it wasn't a night out, he'd be there. So they love to socialise, and we all got on, you know, we were going really well. So it was quite good to adjust. It was different when your boys come in that couldn't speak the language. Yeah. When Berkovic came in, he didn't really socialise a lot. Lubo took a wee bit of time, you know, but
hasn't he stopped since?
He's good at it now, but coming in to start with, but his football done, his Tosh couldn't say, didn't he? He was class.
See, Berkovic though, we got told a story from Martin O'Neill in this venue actually not that long ago that he was the highest paid player at the club, and that is at a time when Henrik Larsson was at the football club, and O'Neill very quickly moved him on. I don't know if this is just for the fans' perspective. I always felt that he was a bit of a bad egg. Do you get that in the game, Jackie? And you just got to move them out?
Wee bits of different background. Wee bits there. I had a wee issue with. So we're in a hotel. You treat everybody the same, whether it be the staff, the ladies serving you, or guys serving you, and just hey, get me this. The wee bits there that I kind of, and I think as a teammate. Because I always say to my pals, when you see one of the best Old Firm goals was Henrik's one for me in my time, just because of the game, the 6-2 game. When you get it and you see the gaffer, you see Tommy Burns and Martin. Tommy Burns was outside of the dugout at the time celebrating. Martin was there, and you see wee eye like that. He must be the only person in the stadium.
Him and Jim White.
You go, it tells you a story. Because even if you're not playing, you're angry, you're not playing, you want to play. But to be part of that, and I was playing in it, luckily enough to play in the game, but to see that, the skill and class in Henrik, sort of takes the credit for chesting it too. But then he makes them and he does that to have, it's just, you look back and go, I'm watching it for way back the park and you're just like, unbelievable. And he's sitting, face tripping them in there, and that tells you a story, because I've had times where I've not played and everything else. You wait your time and you want to play. Yeah, it's difficult at times, but when you're a team and you're part of a team, and you're part of that history, in that game, which is still iconic, the 6-2 game, and wee bits of that tells you a story.
Do you ever get players that come in? You always hear Celtic fans saying if they're playing or applying themselves, they just don't get it, what it's like to play for Celtic. Have you ever been involved in the team and somebody comes in and they just go, they don't get it, or they just don't want to get it?
I think they get it quickly. I think the hardest part is adapting to it. They're not used to it. Like the great wee guy Harold, when he first came in, when he did score his first goal, he's like, what have I done? You know what I mean? But it's really a lovely lad, different, really quiet, accountant. He's a commercial pilot now. But he scored one of the most important ones, the second one, to clinch the title and stop the 10. But when he first came in, he took a long time to adapt. His game was different. So it does take them time to adjust. It's not so much the size of it, and it's the demands that are there. That a lot of guys, there've been guys there that I couldn't, far better than me, but the demands of it and the pressure is too much, and that's why they can't handle it.
Right back, right, here's a wee stat for you. He was the only guy during Fergus McCann's time at Celtic that we signed without actually going and watching him physically, because he had this rule, we're not going to sign guys from a videotape, but Wim Jansen convinced him. He was so convinced this guy's going to make a big difference, which he obviously did. And then when Fergus went away, we started signing players again without actually going out and scouting them, Jackie. And as a fan, I've got an idea of how this works, right? With regards to recruitment, scouting, data analysis, this kind of thing. But when I look back at the summer transfers that Celtic were involved in, having sold Jota for 20 odd million quid, and they simply weren't good enough, he started out whether Celtic are using data and the proper kind of recruitment strategy and scouting. I mean, is it not a case where the gaffer knows that he needs a left back, say for argument's sake, and then you can use data systems to get a shortlist, or we don't want to buy players from that area of the world because they don't work. We want people under the age of 23, this is the wage, this is the transfer fee, and then you scout them, the scouting reports go to the gaffer, and then he can say, right, here's 3 guys I'm interested. It doesn't sound as though Celtic are doing that. Is that the right way to do it?
I think there's all different ways that they'll recruit. I think obviously they'll deal with certain ones before. You've seen before when Ange will do ones that he's maybe seen his time in Japan and they've been mostly a success. Or Brendan might know somebody for his time at Leicester or when he's been down there or played against them. So a lot of time will be that, and in between all these guys, analysts and everything else, they'll look at stats and numbers. But that can only give you so much. It doesn't give you the person, doesn't give you his background. Is he going to handle coming and playing in front of 60,000, knowing he has to win every game? You can't get that on a computer. You can't.
One of the best examples I can think of, Jag, I don't know if you're able to confirm it or no, but my understanding is that Barkas was signed for videos, you know, that nobody'd seen him playing. But
To be
they'd
fair,
watched-
neither did we.
they'd watched it over and over. And do you know what I'm going to say, Jerry? And this is the thing about the hit and miss thing. Because I've got to say, I was excited when we get told we were getting the Greek number one.
I know.
And he was 6'4" and
Champions League experience and everything else.
And
Yeah.
when you add to that something, by the way, because I'm sure, Jackie, it's happened before with squads that you've been involved with. But I actually, if you cast your minds back, I know it's a very, very difficult season to consider. But we had Barkas, we secured Elarusi again. Shane Duffy was...
I know.
That was seen as the missing link because we needed a hard man at the back because we felt we were getting bullied a wee bit. I thought we had everything that was necessary. And then to put the wee cherry in the cake, I know there's a lot of talk about, was there really a choice between Tony or Ayeti? I've been told that wasn't as straightforward as that, right? But when you get Ayeti and you're getting a guy who is a multi-million pound Swiss international, and when he comes in his first couple of games, he scores, I think, 4 goals in 3 games. I just thought everything was going to be in place. But it imploded, Jackie. And
I think it was right from the start. It was like a perfect storm, you know, right from the start. Obviously, the biggest thing is not having the fans here. I don't care what anybody says that season. Not having the fans, the energy in the stadium. I was actually fortunate enough to do a couple of games on Celtic TV. And it was bizarre going to watch it. It didn't feel, even watching the game, you've no atmosphere, and you've not got that. I don't care what anybody says, the playing at home in front there. 1, you'd have the energy in the stadium. 2, the demands that they're talking about there. The fans would be demanding, and they're just. So everything was happening after the event. So everybody would be reacting, you know, after a draw or they lost the game, rather than during the game. And they said, you need to raise this, you know. But for pre-season, I felt sorry for Wethermill when he's took a lot of stuff from it. Maybe a lot of stuff he could have done better. I don't know ins and outs of it, but you know, for pre-season, Griffiths comes back overweight. It doesn't take him pre-season. Bowling goalie disappears. Then you have the thing, they go to Dubai, the travel. It was just one thing after another. And to manage that season, it must have been difficult for him because, one, you know, as I said, every Saturday or every game, the fans tell you if you're not doing it there and then and lift you. Whereas all they're getting is a backlash after the game on social media, or, you know, how can we vent our frustrations, and you're reading it and it's like, for them mentally, the players, and you put yourself in the players' position, had meals to handle that. And, you know, the fans were the biggest thing for me. I get all
the isolation, Jackie, because was it not the case that, for instance, a lot of the French boys, you're talking earlier on about the importance of socialising, going for a drink, doing things together. You couldn't do things together. These guys, some who couldn't speak English, didn't have any friends in the city.
Yeah.
They're in a flat themselves.
And they're worried about their families.
Worried about their families because of this during COVID. I know that, you know, we've talked about Shane, who I thought was going to be a perfect signing. I thought he absolutely was like a Billy McNeil type of figure. He absolute leader on the park and everything. He scored. Started okay. I think he scored in his first 2 games. Brilliant. But he was going through personal problems. His dad had died. He had other personal difficulties. Stuck in a flat himself. Nobody talked to him. I mean, I know we are as fans, we're like, don't care about that, we just want you to win. But they were very, very real problems that Lenny was trying to deal with.
You're right, though, in terms of recruitment. I think if you ask most fans that summer, we're pretty content going into the season, thinking, right, we've signed 5 million in Barkas. Ayeti was a proven international striker. We had kept on a lot of our big players. Edward stayed. So everyone was thinking we've got the right squad for this. And we actually started the season pretty well. I remember up until the Rangers game. And then it just imploded. And I think the frustration from a lot of the fans came after the 2 Sparta Prague cablings, that we didn't make the change then while the season was probably still salvageable. And we just kept going. And I think that's where a lot of the stuff with Lenny kicked in and why it took so long. But sometimes you're right, there was a number of other factors that season, the crowd being probably the biggest. As you say, like Barkas has alluded to that, like he was in isolation. So things can just happen, but I think the frustration with the fans, with the club at that point was reactive, rather than being proactive as to when we could have addressed the situation. But you just have
I suppose what I'm arguing is I don't really think it was addressable. In other words, I think it's all fine for us to look back and say, if we changed the manager, it would have been different. What would have been different? All of those things would have been the same. I just, obviously, I'm declared, I'm part of Lenny's, I like Lenny, I'm a big defender of Lenny, so therefore people say, you would say that. Fair dues, I'll take that. But quite frankly, I don't know that anybody would have done any better in those absolutely unique circumstances.
Yeah. And as a fan,
It's power. As a manager, it's power. And you see at the start with Neil's trying to keep everybody together. And it's difficult for us as ex-teammates, because if you're saying that at certain times there, I think you're actually thinking more about him to take him out the firing line from the human side of it and more the abuse. But then if we turn around and say, you know what, no, he's the right man for the job, then if you're acting and asking your opinion on it, well, I totally agree with you. I don't know, as a manager there with the power, the only difference I would say, like when they changed it right away, so you had the end of that season, like Edouard going, and right away Angie's like, anybody doesn't want to be here, off you go, there's nobody bigger than that. That was a wee thing, but Neil didn't, I don't Neil had that power the year before, because there was so much writing on the 10, and that was the focus, that was the...
They couldn't get anybody a rollicking, Jackie, in that season.
And since I've been a manager myself, and I know at the same pressures, but it's totally different. Whereas when I was playing at Celtic, the manager was the number one, and you were like, you would be Tommy, Vim, Martin O'Neill came in, and you would be not scared of them, but you had the respect there, and you would never. It wasn't us saying to him, go and do well for me today. That's how the game has changed so much, because of obviously the money and the moving away and different things. But that season, Neil didn't have the... Ange came in and went, right, there we go, you don't want to be here, let us do Martin and Stefan Mai. Odson's away, nobody didn't even bat an eyelid.
I remember hearing, Jackie, again, you'll be able to confirm that, because you had mates with a lot of them, but they were talking about sometimes didn't they see each other during the week, and when they went to change, they had to go into changing rooms like 3 and 4 at a time. So sometimes the team didn't even get together till they were on the park. It just seems like an absolutely crazy situation to have been in. And from my point of view, he, I think, has been over-criticised because he was seen as, he's stubborn, he's not moving on, and the rest of it. And I'm saying to myself, moving on, but that'd actually be like walking away. Right. And we have a go at people.
He was never going to give up, Tommy, was he? Neil Lennon, it wasn't in his makeup to give it up.
But Paul, some people would say that no walking away was a fault.
Yeah.
Whereas I see it as
we had a good debate at the time, you and I, about it.
He genuinely felt he could rectify the situation.
He did.
He had that belief in himself.
There are some managers who I don't think get the club. I think Neil gets the club. And anything he was doing, I think, was about the club. I mean, this is a guy that's getting abused in the street, getting bullets sent on him, has his life turned upside down for his association with the club.
But you look at it, I said back at the time, I was kind of defending him a wee bit, and at the top, so it was Peter and Lenny was getting the abuse. But the problems that they had with Ball and Galway disappearing, or Griffiths, you've got so much staff. That's 2 people, one the chief exec and one the manager with the power. There's all the coaches, there's all the analysts, you've got all the sports scientists that are getting the players fit. How can they not be fit coming back to one of the biggest seasons? How can you be overpaid?
That's right, they went away to France, didn't they?
Lenny's fault.
Yeah.
No, I think he felt very, very let down by that, because he'd stuck his neck out suddenly. He stuck his, supported them.
I was angry at the time because I found it difficult. People, like the rest of the world, you're in lockdown and you can't wait to go and play football again.
I know.
It gives you the insight to what you're like what Leo probably be like now. When you do finish, there's no cut off. There's no like, right, I'll just take a week off and I'll go and... You just stop playing. When your career stops, you stop. There's no routine. And you start putting on the pound.
Yep.
But I was like, why would you not be fit?
No.
So one...
I couldn't believe it. I thought it was unforgivable because I think he'd let us do the supporters, but more than that, this is a guy who had went the extra mile for him, and he'd really let him do it. So I was upset about that.
You still close with Lenny now?
I still...
So it must have crushed him as a fan. He'll still be feeling it now. And just like they're saying, I know there's any other team already would have, but
a lot of the teammates, because a lot of them were critics at the time. You know, and it did create a wee problem. But Neil's doing the punditry now.
Yeah.
He's doing it.
Flipped, isn't it?
I mean, you're giving someone asks you your opinion on something, and you're giving your opinion. Do you go, but he's my pal, I can't, shouldn't he? I remember when I was in manager at Dundee United, Big Sutty said I was in the sack before I got sacked. I bet he would have said that before I even started.
This is a section of the show where a legend calls. We're going to call somebody up, and they're going to think it's me, but it's actually Jackie. I'm going to put them on loudspeaker and embarrass them as well, Jackie. And this is somebody called Laura Bradburn, who used to be on the Celtic State of Mind. And she used to tell me that your picture adorned her bedroom wall. So I think that when she's picking this phone call up thinking it's me and it's Jackie McNamara on the other end of the line, it could be quite a surprise for her. Here goes. Sorry, Laura, in advance. Good for free.
Larsson, your phone moment. You want?
Hello, Laura.
Yes.
Hi, how you doing? It's Jackie McNamara. You alright?
I'm alright, how are you?
Good on you.
What are you up to?
Nothing much, I'm just at work at the moment.
Good. I was talking to Polly about your podcast. How's that going?
It's going well. Doing weekly episodes just now and quite enjoying it.
Good. I'll maybe come on and speak to you one of the times. I'll pass Paul, I think he's desperate to speak to you anyway. Nice to talk to you, Laura.
Oh, brilliant.
Hi, Laura. Well done, Jackie.
Laura, we thought we'd give you a wee boost there with your new show. We were with Jackie. We said, you know what? She's going to think it's me, but it's Jackie. You've just been called by a legend. You happy with that?
Wait till I'm 50 years about this one.
Yes. And you've got it on tape. Jackie has agreed to be on your show. We'll catch up with you soon, Laura. Take care.
See you, bye. Cheerio.
Called by a legend.
Nice.
Brilliant. Call me now, Jackie.
Well done, Jerry.
It's because, right, she's thinking, is that somebody doing an impression? She's doing impressions, Jackie, yeah? Yeah, skills you doing them, aye.
Oh, come on, did you do it? Oh, just the Martin, the always the one with the gaffer. And he used to wear his glasses and we'd hand over there and he'd go quite he used Northern Ireland accent. For fuck's sake, that was into the plot.
Was there no a prank call you made to Fergus McCann at the wrong time?
Aye, but it wasn't known to me, it was Fergus, it was the wee Jamie Church, he was picking Dr. Joe up.
Right.
We were in the treatment room. We used to congregate in the treatment room with the boys, even though we weren't injured, but in the Bride Scott's room. And the rumours that the manager was coming that day, and Jamie Church, you'll know him when you see him. He was always, if there's a new signing, the manager, he was at the airport picking them up. And we always knew Jamie would be picking the new manager up. So, and the rumours it was going to be Rutulit. It was ended up being Dr. Joe, but so I phoned, and we were all in there, Craig Burley, Stubbsy, and Tommy Johnson sitting in Brian Scott's room. So I said, I'll phone for here. And so when you phone for Brian's room, it could be anywhere in the stadium at Celtic Park. So bear in mind, this is 1998 when the phone signals were like a CB. So I phoned him and, Jamie, it's Churchy, is that you, Churchy? Hello, and he kept breaking down, kept cutting off, phoned it back again, and all the boys are listed in. And then it happened about 5 or 6 times, and then it's me, Fergus, because I was getting angry, because of the signal. Is that you, Churchy? Hello, hello, and then it just die, and then I can't do Canadian after that. Wee Fergus's accent. Yes, that's who are you? Are you talking to you, wee prick? And I was like, oh, shit, one of the boys are watching. I was like, what was that? That was wee Fergus there. Then I was like, can shit myself. Then later on, the Dr. Joe came in to do the preds, and I seen Jamie, and he's looking, I was up there, just caught his eye, and he was, I was a real bastard. He said, Fergus went mental. He said, I want his name, I want that man found, I want to win my football club.
It was Berkowitz.
We Scottish voice, but what happened, he'd actually went to Edinburgh Airport, and it was just Jamie Church and Fergus in the car. He says, right, you go and get Dr. George, you know what he looks like. And Jamie's like, I remember he was Aston Villa, he says, and he said he'd be wearing a red tie. There's a Labour conference on. So I'm in the person waiting. He's Fergus is going bananas. He says, red tie. He says, like, Dr. Joe was one of the last coming out, the old guy coming in, gets him out of the car. He says, just get in the car, and Fergus going, where you been? He's like, there's a Labour conference on, and waiting, you find him. And he says, new phone. Just, so I could have been sacked in 98. You know, I was talking to be there to 2005.
We were lucky.
Yeah, you mentioned Scotty there, and you know, for many, many years, he was just a staple part of this football club, and then he disappears. But back in the day, there was more of a kind of boot room element to Celtic, Jackie, even when you came in. And, you know, even when Dalglish took over from Barnes, Tommy Burns comes back. How important is that for a club like Celtic? I know there's a balance, because it can't be jobs for the boys, but it's good to have the presence, isn't it?
The presence there is good, and for us, it's a familiar face. They know you know, they know what it's about. Even doing with wee Angie, she passed away, wee Angie, the kit lady, wee things like that, with Clarkie, John Clark being back as a kit man that season, and just the camaraderie. And that's, to be honest, that's one of the biggest things you miss as a player. See the dressing room banter and the day-to-day, and wind-up merchants and different characters, you know, and obviously you've got the pressure that goes with it, but when you're going to these games and you're handling that, and you're going in wanting to play Rangers upon there, the big massive matches, but you're all going through the same thing, and you've got that bond, you know, and you've got to war with these guys, you know, and they've got your back. So even the people that surround that's why they're so important.
Henrik spoke about that, didn't he? A Lisbon line actually prepares your kit when you sign for Celtic. You couldn't believe it, could it? And then they go really quite tight, didn't they?
He's a good guy, Clarkie. Brilliant, you know, so humble, so down to earth, you know, him being around it, you know, and I used to see the other ones coming in, and they were still alive. Jinky would come in to see him, and Bertie, and, you know, to see these guys. It was brilliant.
That's incredible. And of course, there's a famous story about Danny McGrain that Brendan told, right? So let's talk about Brendan Rodgers for a wee second here, right? We managed to go over the line. Wasn't pretty at the weekend, Jackie, but what do you make of it? Because as a fan watching that and observing it, it just seems to me that there came a point in the season where they were galvanised. It's like you were talking about there, you know, running through a brick wall for each other. What do you think brought that on? Was it, I've suggested it was maybe the Hearts game, we felt hard done by, and we just went on a run after that.
Yeah, I think there's a few wee bits in the game, there's a few matches you're looking there. I think Brendan coming in, back in, was always going to be difficult. Following Ange and following that intensity and following the way he was, and the love that the fans had, you know, obviously they knew he would go at some point. They were hoping he was going to stay longer. Brendan's departure was different because it was in a different time when, you know, he could have stayed. A lot of people think he should have stayed to the end of that season and maybe and done it that the way Ange had done it. But he was a hard act to follow coming in. At the start, again, there's differences in how they set up to play, you know, and that can affect certain players like a Kyogo, you know, and but you've seen me glimpses. I thought it was like St Johnstone game when they battled St Johnstone. Kyogo looked sharp and looked there, and they'll do everything quick. When they do everything quick, I think there was no many can live with them. But when they do it slow, and it's away up the left wing, and it's back at the goalie, and it's away there, and it's keeping possession for possession's sake, rather than just putting a cross in, even though Kyogo's not the biggest. But you see with St Johnson, he just spins round, he makes a space for himself, he don't need to be big. Henrik wasn't big.
Jackie, I thought one of the games of the season that summed up the whole season was the Kilmarnock game at home. We're 1-0 up. It's a real stuffy game. Kilmarnock are actually in the game much more than they should have been. And then right at the end, in the last minute, you get Burnaby pushed out the way for a guy at the back post to hit an equaliser. And the reason I mean sum it up is because Burnaby to me summed up what I think Brendan was dealing with. Because it wasn't his squad that he was dealing with. It wasn't his signings that he was dealing with. I think the 7 or 8 signings that come in and a couple that had already been there, he's inherited somebody else's squad, and that to me has got to be difficult as a manager, because you're trying to get a tune out of players that, quite frankly, you don't actually fancy. And Burnaby, to me, sorry to be personal, and I know we all support guys, you wanted him to be better. He just wasn't. He wasn't good enough. He just wasn't good enough. Sometimes we forget some of the mistakes that Ange made. You know, he gets loads of credit, quite rightly, for Hatate, for Kyogo, CCV, Jota. Great, but there were also some duds in there as well. To me, that summed up, and I thought, no fight, lackadaisical, very, very lacking in energy. I seriously thought for a wee while there that we'd blown it. And then the Motherwell game, last minute, you're saying to yourself, and then they make mistakes. And I just felt, if you look at Brendan's selection, for instance, when we play the Rangers at Parkhead, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was not a single new signing. It was, because he started.
Same with it.
So he obviously decided that these new signings, these projects, aren't good enough. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to go with what I trust. And then we went on, I think it was, 1-8 and drew 1 out of 9 games. But do you think that we need strengthening? And I know you're going to say yes. What areas do you think?
I think the number positions, obviously the goalkeeper's going to be the main one coming in, with Joe Hart, new goalkeeper. Left back, I think he's another centre back as well. I think Scales has done okay, but at the next level, I think it was, what I actually went to a few of the games, I thought they were targeting the kind of left side. I think we're vulnerable for crosses coming in at the back post area.
Aberdeen semi-final.
Aberdeen, but the wee bits there as a full-back was not to stop the cross. It was too easy just to put a cross in. And as a full-back, that was your job. Stop the cross. Anybody at a cross in, you would be slaughtered.
Yes.
You stop that and then just let them cross. First one coming that side, another one coming in from his right side at the back post area. And that's a kind of weakness. I like Johnson. I think he's been a decent enough signing, but defensively, I like to see more from him. Just being solid, and even the goal we lost late on at Ibrox, and it wasn't his fault, but coming in and letting him score with his right foot. The one place you wouldn't as a full-back.
But to be honest, it was Yang.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yang,
I mean, for God's sake,
Johnson.
He shows him inside, Jackie. He shows him,
that was
as a kid when you get taught, show him outside, shows him inside.
I think it'll be interesting to see the recruitment. I think what's worked really well, like Carter Vickers, is try before you buy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not that you're doubting their ability, it's you want to see that they can handle it. And I think that's been a good model. I know you've seen them, like today, there's boys just saying with Bournemouth today, whatever, and it's a loan with an option to buy.
Turkish guy, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're doing that for the financial fair play. That's a different thing. But if you're getting someone in,
So put you on the spot then. Ida and Bernardo, we've seen them. Would you sign both of them?
Either I would, and the striker, I think he's a good side, a good unit. I think he's quick. I think he'll be a decent signing. Bernardo, there's bits there that I've liked. He's not a real run at it. And, you know, the way it looks as if O'Reilly could go this summer, with all the reports, and obviously in January as well. So that might be an issue there. Where would he play? The Brendan plays with one striker, and the other two wide, and sometimes inverted. So that, you know, that's a problem for somebody coming in. If you want to get a big striker coming in, how many do you sit with? You know, and if you look back in our team, you had the first season with Martin O'Neill was Larsson and Sutton. Then he brought in John Hartson. So then you had 3 top strikers. Although we played 3-5-2, so then Martin ended up dropping Sutty like in behind at times to accommodate the 3 in, or bring, you know, fitting John in. You couldn't leave John out in games, and so that's the wee bits there. If you're bringing strikers in, they want to play. They want to be the number 9. Are they happy just waiting for Kyogo to come off if Kyogo's going to be the main one? So that's a problem that anybody that they will bring in. Always no played a lot, as we've seen.
Disney fancy him, does he?
Because obviously he's not rating him.
Disney
fact that he's brought him in January.
Even getting on the bench, Tommy, is he?
He's still loving all the celebrations.
The whiter ones, I think they've looked okay at times. Palmer looked okay.
That's what we need. Really fit it.
The good sides.
Definitely.
But the way they play, they want them to come inside and like maybe leave the space for the fullback. Whereas you've seen what I really liked last year was they would move in between the sticks. Abada, the number of times you get in between the sticks at back and post against Rangers, and be there to score a goal. So you're not just relying on Kyogo. He was just like, how can I score a goal? I'm not a winger. You know, I'm a forward. I'm not to go into there and try and get a goal. We James, he can do it at times.
Yes.
But you mentioned Matt O'Reilly there. There's been a couple of schools of thoughts on this. Do we try and really show ambition and keep him and build a team around him? Is that an option, do you think? Or do you think it's more, maybe even more wiser, use that money and invest it maybe in 3 or 4 different players of high quality and let them go?
I think it always depends on what the player. See, the player's saying that if I were to go, I want to go to Spain, I want to go down to England, and you can only give so much. You know, it's changed so much. So the club can only pay so much, and we get 3-4 times what he's got, what Celtic can pay him. Just, you know, and get no problems with that. I think that's when the other ones have left, and then said when Ange came in, Odson left. Before that, the other ones, Dembele. So they go away to make. You can't fault them because we took them over to play for Celtic, and you know, and otherwise it's stay at their own clubs.
We've obviously got the new Champions League format, and the issue I've felt Celtic in the past is we don't show that ambition with recruitment, showing players like O'Reilly. Like, we'll buy players similar quality to you, so that they're not appealing like, you know, I'm surrounded by players that aren't as good. We've got this new Champions League format, 8 games against new teams. It could be a chance for us to show that statement of intent. Obviously, if he still chooses to go, and the chances are he's linked with the top teams, not just your pals.
And so don't you think there's an inherent problem with that equation that you've just talked about there? Because if we're honest about it, Riley wasn't even our first choice. Because our first choice was the boy Riley Cree, I think his name, or whatever his name was. So O'Reilly was a second choice. He was a £1.5 million punt. According to what you read at Fulham, he was absolutely plagued with injuries, a very bad back over a while. My understanding is that he had a bigger paycheck on the table before he signed for whoever it was we signed him from. So the boy wanted to go and play football, which gives me a wee bit of hope that maybe he's not just thinking money. I think, I don't know what you think, Jagger, but I think if he was selected in the Danish team, he might then say, well, maybe another season here, because playing here hasn't hurt my career. I'm selected. But if he's not selected for the Danish team, and some of the comments I heard for the Danish manager was very scathing about our league, sadly.
That's for the Champions League. So previously, when the players have all left, it's always because they had to qualify for the Champions League. Now they don't. So they're straight into it. So you know, because we're always waiting in the last bits to see. That's when obviously Van Dijk was sold, or Dembele was sold the last day of the window because we didn't make the Champions League, because that's what you're trying to sell to these guys to come to the country. They don't want to come and play in the league.
Yes.
They want to play Champions League, and they want to be put on the stage for everybody there to go, as hard as it is for us to go beyond us, you know, beyond Celtic, go to a Madrid or Liverpool, or it's the leagues. You know, they want to get to the leagues.
So if Martin thinks to himself, I'm going to play minimum 8 games in the Champions League next season, possibly 10 if we manage to get into that top 9, then that might, if he got picked for the Danish national squad for the Euros, it might tip the balance. I think if he doesn't get in the squad, I think...
What's he got left in his contract too?
2 years. Yeah.
This is his, so can the club, that's the other bit as well. You know, this is the time to sell him, to cash in on him. Because if you go wait to next year, he's got into his last year, and you know, then he's got 6 months he can go for nothing.
So what I was trying to say to yourself was, we didn't know he was such a good player. We just didn't. He's been a revelation. He's been outstanding. But Bernardo's not a replacement for him, is he? No. So we were talking earlier, there's 2 different players. Yeah. I mean, I've heard some people say, oh, well, if Riley goes, we should sign Bernardo, and I just don't think that's an equation. I think the equation is, do we take Bernardo, given what we've seen of him? I think we've seen enough to think he offers something. He's got lots of running. I think he's got a threat, but he's not going to be
different type
replacement.
You would still need to replace O'Reilly, Tommy.
Yes, that's the point. And when you were talking earlier about the changes in the season, having Hatate, CV and McGregor in the one team, for me, was a catalyst. Those 3 players, in my opinion, are our best 3 players.
Yeah, and we're talking about O'Reilly, but we don't even know if we're going to be able to keep a hold of Hatate as well. So we might have that headache as well. We get 2 cracking centre.
Yeah, because I don't think we've seen the best of him under Rodgers. But the point you make, Tommy, I guess I'm holding on to that a wee bit. The decision he made when he left Fulham, and he was out of football because of the decision he made before he got the contract with MK Dons. It was because he was thinking about his career. It wasn't just the quick buck. If you like, you had a contract offer on the table and he refused it.
Significantly bigger than what MK Dons had offered him. And he still done that.
And he walked away.
His gran's a big fan of Acsom.
His gran is a big fan of Acsom. She keeps messaging us and it's genuine. Granny O, yes.
He's a creative player, you know, he's good vision, and you know, when he first came, you're looking at his running style and think, can he go and play Champions League? Has he got the mobility to do that? And he's shown that this year. I think he can.
You remember there was a period, was it last season or the season before that, when McGregor was injured, he played the sitting role, and actually we never lost a game.
Is that no way? He got a man of the match in the Champions League, Tommy. He was outstanding. Yep, playing in the defensive role.
Playing that, and you all think, oh, he's too creative, he couldn't play that, but he was actually brilliant.
Yeah.
But Jackie, you said Wales. I think we're desperately need another winner. Desperately. I think too.
Aye. Or somebody that can be as effective on both sides.
I'm looking for a first choice. I'm looking for somebody who's getting you off your seat. A Jota style who makes things. There's so many games this season that just crying out for a bit of creativity. Did somebody do something different? Jota did it so many times. He'd score goals that were just extraordinary. We missed that this season. And right now, I love Maeda. I love his work rate's outstanding. I love James. He's what a servant, absolutely brilliant. But so far, I mean, I'm hoping Nicholas is going to come good, because he is a. You can't say that he's not a Brendan signing. That's unlike the others. He is a Brendan signing.
Yeah.
So far, I'm unconvinced.
Yeah. You hope that he gets a pre-season, Tommy.
Please.
Yes. I was going to ask you, Jackie, because I think Maeda's improved under Brendan Rodgers. I think Matt O'Reilly has. Liam Scales is an obvious one. I even think Joe Hart was an improved player under Rodgers, and of course James Forrest. What manager do you think you improved the most under?
Well, Tommy Burns to start with, because we worked on it. We worked on stuff, as I said, in the afternoons.
When you were near line in a ditch at Barrowfield?
We worked on it with the younger ones, especially myself, Simon Donnelly, me, Brian McLaughlin. We'd be out in the afternoons, and everybody would say, like, myself and Simon had a great partnership down the right hand side, because we worked on it with Tommy and Billy Stark after, you know, in the afternoons. So I think that took my coming from Dunfermline was the expectation was was difficult.
It's not great coming from Dunfermline, guys. Seriously.
But there was an expectation in that league which helped me deal with. I never really thought about it in the games, and I never used to think about or stress about going to play. Just wanted to go and make a difference and go and enjoy my football.
What always struck me about you, Jaggy, was your fitness level. So I always thought you were an incredibly fit player. Is that something that you particularly worked on, that you knew that up and down the park was
I knew that was the biggest thing for me, and that's why I got so emotional and so angry about the stuff with Griffiths about being fit. As a professional footballer, it's like nobody can. I remember when I just signed a new contract when John Barnes was the manager. We were in Portugal to winter break, and I'd signed a new deal 2 days before it, a 4-year contract, and we were doing the bleep test, and I think I was maybe second last out, maybe behind Boydie, and but I was knackered. I was there to my max, and I was on the ground, and John stood over us, and he's like, because we're blocking the sun out. He was like, I thought you would have chucked it long before now. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you signed your new contract a couple of days ago. And I thought, but I'd never done anything I'd done it for me, because I needed to be fit to play my position, especially in his system, the 4-2-2-2, up and down, that was my job, up and down the whole side. But it told me more about him.
I was going to say, that's a wonderful thing for him to say to you, because he's thought,
that's what you would do.
and you're willing to go that extra mile.
He was a top player, a skillful player. My job, my career was don't about my fitness. It's about my endurance.
So listen, it's Jackie. You could cross a great ball. I thought you were a great tackler. I thought you read the game very well. So that's not the only thing about your game. It's just that was the significant thing. When I used to watch you, I'm thinking, what the hell, he's fit. You never seem to tire.
But saying you're changing there, because when obviously Martin came in there and you had Gat, and I'm like, there was the first game, because I actually got injured away with Scotland. I started the season relatively well under Martin, enjoying it with the 6-2 game and everything else, and I got injured away in San Marino, and we're playing St Mirren at home. And I thought, I wonder who's playing, because I need to put Stilling right one back at one game, but then he put DD there against St Mirren, and I'm like, that was me watching for a while. I'd lost my position and had to reinvent another position in the team, whether it be in midfield. I came on a few times in midfield, or played the 6. Then I played left centre half against Stuttgart in the European game. So I wasn't bothered as long as I heard McNamara first in the starting when Martin read out the team an hour and a half before the game. And then it was eventually after Boa Vista game, we went back to the back 4 against Rangers at Ibrox in Beach Ball Sunday. That was the turning point for me back when we went back to a 4 against them, because we'd lost the wee bit Indian sign-overs where they played the 3 narrow.
People forget that season, didn't they? Because we always going about the 6-2, but they beat us 5-1, didn't see? It actually highlights, in my opinion, when I hear my Rangers supporting friends going, how poor Rangers are this season, because on Saturday there, we talked about wasn't our best. Rangers went there to avoid defeat. They never went to win that game. They went to avoid it. And the teams that I get brought up and we were playing, Rangers had teams that would go come in hockey and come. They just said dead balls. That's what they were trying to score from. So from a Rangers perspective, Clermont so far to me looks as though it's a long ball stuff.
Again, you're looking at there and like, what's he going to do at Vitas? What's his game plan? And that's, you could see right from the start. The big lad on Taylor, diagonals, we try and work off that. They nearly score for it, and one of the ones he puts across. But that was a game plan: stop and try stay in the game. Try and stay in the game, and he'll make changes later on in the game to try and inject it.
There was 2 or 3 times during that game, I don't know if you remember it, once with Dessers, once with Stirling, where they got the ball, looked up and there was nobody there, because they were all behind them.
That's right.
Because they were sitting so deep to try and stop us from playing. In actual fact, it hurt them because their structure fell down when we scored their goal, because they pressed us and we broke the press. We won the lovely pass with Callum, and then your man tries to take Bernardo down. If that Campbell, he would have died. But Bernardo keeps going, and I know Butland's got a lot of hassle for it. But it was a good shot. One of the commentators I heard saying, Butland's thrown them the cup. I heard that. Come on.
Butland kept him at the
Yeah, he's been their best player all season. It's quite telling, that both goalkeepers, Celtic and Rangers, were touted as player of the year at one point. It just showed you that it wasn't the two best teams. But I was wanting to ask you, you're talking about how hard you work in training, and that was just part of your makeup, you want to do it. But as a footballer, we all know, like, you're going to come to an end a lot quicker than anyone else's career. So as your body starts to tell you, maybe not get as many a few years, like, how do you cope with that? See, as an actor in performance, if somebody tells me, right, my career would have been ended 5 years ago, you're never allowed to go back on that stage, you can never feel the buzz of that crowd. I always was, right, how do you deal with that in later life? Because that would cripple me. I can't, and my body's telling me, somebody's telling me, you can't do that anymore. So at what point in your career did you start to prepare for it, and what was it that told you they had to start preparing for it?
Good point, because nobody. I remember my old man used to say, it goes like that, son, like that, enjoy it and maximise a career, it goes quickly. But it does, and I'd say the same now to all the lads that look after and stuff. But I finished my career at Partick Thistle. I broke my leg the second time, and I was like, I'm going to come back and play and finish my own terms. And I came out that season. I was getting to the end of that season, and I took the team from Ian McCall had left, so I went straight into management. I took the last 4 games of the season, then I got the job, so it never gave me a time to think about it. But then we do step back for it and go, it's the one thing you love doing. But even when I was at Thistle, you went to a reserve game away down at Annan, and I'm like, Sid, my sister Rangel, Simon Donnelly, like, we'll not get a game. Because we boys was what I play, and you're lucky you are to be able to play football. It's not a chore, and you're away to play a reserve game, and even a couple of times I went up to Dundee United, I was 40-year-old, and I was trying to prove a point to all the boys. We used to do these runs with Brian Scott and Tommy Burns. It was a 18-yard box, and John Suter was 16 at the time, and me Goldie 17, and Mark Miller, who was carrying a wee bit. He had a problem with fitness. I said, I'm going to do these runs with him. 40-year-old. To be fair, we used to do just 15 seconds there and back, the full width, and you 15 seconds rest, and you do a 30 seconds, and that was one set. Cause I would do 3 sets. I used to do it at Celtic myself. Ian Sutty used to go, and Tom or Henrik used to go ourselves after we'd finished training, even later on. Because I knew if I could do the 3 sets in the time scale, I could recover. Because it's how you can recover. Yeah. If you run 15 seconds, 30, and the lactic starts hitting you after the second one. So I said, we're doing 2 sets. And a 40-year-old. And then Simon and Dan Jackson were sitting there with the rest of the boys, and it was just the young ones, and they were struggling. John Suter they were about chucking up at this. So I got in the time, but I was so desperate to prove a point, to Mark and everyone else. So I go over the line for the second set, and at St Andrews, and I start walking. I can feel myself. I'm going to conk out here. I'm going to just collapse, and was waiting. So I went into my office in the pavilion at the training ground, and I'd never said anything. I just kept walking. And shut my door, and the top bit of my office door was like stained glass, the frosted glass, bottom bit panel. And then once you lock the door from inside, you need the key to get in. So Darren Jackson, he obviously followed me, and I'm lying on the floor, dragging myself back, kicking, like pure waiting. I think I'm going to be sick, I'm going to get it. But I couldn't show anybody. And Darren's like,
you're right.
His face is not there, the frosted glass. Are you in there? Where's the gaffer? And you shouted the kit man, have you seen the gaffer? There's I was like, it's Jackson, he's leaving me right. So I leaned up and opened the door with my hand, and I was kidding on, I was he just looked at me and burst out laughing. But that was the last time you did that, went Jack.
So obviously you had no time to think when you gave up being a player, but as time goes on, I always wonder about there's any kind of depression setting that you're kind of the main man for years. Do you find that certain friends that were around you start to disappear, and I don't know, you get less attention from like the folks ones around you?
You've still got Jimmy the driver, Jackie.
The drive-ins.
I want to meet Jimmy. Jimmy is my hero.
Oh, you could have some
Not
stories.
only did he drive Arthur, but he drove Jeremy as well. I want to meet Jimmy.
He's a good guy.
You need to set up.
I drive him now. But that again, it's how the football club can bring people to you. You know, and I used to drive my granda. He loved my granda, big socialist, and I used to drive him to every game. Then he started driving me and David Fernandez and all, big Jimmy. But I think the biggest thing with that is tickets. Can I get any tickets now? You starting to come round again. Can you get us a ticket for that game? And that kind of dies away, your so-called friends. And from that side, it's good because the stress.
Can weed them out as well.
Weed them out, and the phone calls kind of stop. And it's a difficult change. If you're not, I think it's worse if you're not doing anything. See, if you're active and busy. I've always been one just to keep looking ahead. You know, my football career, I never dwelled on the last game. Always the next game. That's what I say to all my players. It's the next game. We are the best player. We are man of the match. It's gone. We look to the next one. So in life, I kind of try and do the same. You know, I tried in management, enjoy wee bits of it. You know, the wee bits latterly in it scurred me a bit.
Is this something you'll get back into?
No, I enjoyed the coaching side of it. Do you know what? I get such a lift seeing young lads coming through. You know, because for me, I was similar. I was rejected as a young kid for being too small. Dunfermline gave me a chance at 16, YTS, and worked my way up and fought for it. And that's why I've always kind of been drawn to lads when I started managing at Partick Thistle. We didn't have any real budget. They just wanted to survive in the old Division 1. And I went out and got all the kids that had been released from Hearts, Hibs, Motherwell, lad from Montrose, Dennis Muir, and we were at 19, 20 mark, and went and worked with them, and coached them, and tried to, and then obviously going to a good position when I left. You know, they went on to win the league, and I went away to Dundee United. Dundee United was similar, you know, try to get ones that were Andy Robertson at League 2, amateur football, you know, they've all different wee stories, and give them that chance when you see them there, the boys you worked with, and they're playing international football, they were away doing it at that level, because it's so rewarding when you see it, and that's, you're reliving your youth, I feel like, with that.
Quite like to see you as head of the scouting department at Celtic.
Well, it's a frustration. I go on about it all the time, Jackie, because we've been the tradition of Celtic Football Club, like your old fella comes through the ranks. You know, he followed the Lisbon Lions, the Quality Street gang. We always had that tradition. You spoke about Philippe from Bordeaux. He had a whole batch, him with Peter Grant and all these guys. But it did dry up, and I think, you know, we've got the captain, McGregor, we've got Forrest, and then maybe backups, Welsh and Ralston. But there's been a few years where we've not really been producing. And then you've got a whole group of young guys who, before they break through, they're away. They've signed for Man City and Blackburn, Bayern Munich. And it's frustrating as a fan because you think to yourself, if they go on and have a great career, what have we done to try and keep them? Is it difficult for a club like Celtic? Can we do it better?
It's difficult for Celtic and Rangers, because for any kid to get a chance, it's like, how can you prepare them for the demands of that? Playing up a lowland league is difficult, you know, when there's two guys there and the standard's not anywhere near that level. The best thing for the players, I mean, I learned by playing reserves against men at the same time. We don't have reserve football, which was the best thing for our game. For the best thing there, you talk about Cal McGregor. Cal went out to Notts County and was exceptional down in England and learned so much, then came back. Not everyone can come through straight away, which I always thought the best thing for the football club would have been to have a sister club,
Yeah.
place, Ireland or abroad, Australia or America, even for your coaches, if you've got an aspiring young coach, your coach can go in there, but they're still carrying the badge, they're carrying the pride, and the players there are going to play at that level, and they're playing men's football, but they're still Celtic players. I mean, they put the City group, which is a different animal altogether, but I always thought we should have had feeder clubs. That way you've got a platform to go and play in a competitive league against men, and you go, right, ones you maybe think, right, do you know what, I think 2 seasons, maybe get them 50, 60 games, and I think you can come back into Celtic's first team, like Callum did at Notts County, like other ones have done, because the difficulty is, how do you prepare them for the pressure? Because, you know, we'll be seeing it this season, how tight it can be. So one loss, and they'll start blaming the kid, and the pressure on the manager to play the kid, and obviously the fans. So the fans demand just now, we're all talking about recruitment for next year, splashing the cash, but doesn't guarantee you.
No, never a guarantee.
Guarantee, and you don't get a lot for 6 or 8 million now that you used to. You know, and that's Championship in England. So it's a difficult one, and people say like how, and for the kids themselves, they know they're not going to get a chance. It's difficult to get a chance. But if they had a feeder club, or a club that they had even just a tier down.
But Jackie, you've recognised now, you can't be the only former professional that recognises how good reserve football was for you. What? How, are people just not listening? I mean, you constantly talking about its money, but we've just, every club has to contribute to VAR.
Could Celtic and Rangers finance it, John?
Improve our game compared to what reserve football would do. Improve our game.
I know, it's very frustrating. You see, like, in the game, you see the standard, and it's the same group. Everybody's fishing in the same pond, the same players, and maybe give them an extra little bit of that, a little bit there. You know, I'm talking 10 years ago when I was managing, the same group of players are all still playing.
Right.
They're all, it's no evolving. And it's difficult to, I know it's difficult sometimes to attract ones, and it's a gamble. They have players coming in, but the academies and teaching them is kind of difficult.
See, going into the Euros then, and it's great that we're, you know, competing at that level again. You played at the World Cup in '98, Jackie, and at that time, was there 8 Celts in that squad?
Yeah.
I think there was 8, and then we've now got 4 going in, but there's a few others in there that, you know, we didn't like talk about what happened with John McGinn. You've got other players like Andy Robertson, who as a young guy was at Celtic. They didn't see something you did. You've got Ben Doak, who obviously has gone on at Liverpool, and let's hope that he appears. It's very exciting, but for someone who's been involved in so many players' careers, how does it feel? You excited for the Euros?
I think it's working with them. Stuart Armstrong as well.
Yeah.
John Suter in the squad. No, it's great because you're on their journey and part of it. You know, as I always said, as a manager or a coach, you're a teacher. You're passing on your experiences, and you're hoping your wisdom at times to help them. You know, it's like we're quick to dismiss them, or they can't do this or they can't do that. You know, have you taught them? Have you showed them? You know, if you had everything else, you're looking to talk about recruitment. So no matter what level you're at, if it's Celtic's level, or Dundee United, or Dunfermline, or whatever, what can, you know, we need to grow it because you can't afford to buy it. And that's, you look at the raw materials there that the players have, their attributes and everything else. Like, if we can make that a wee bit better and help that a wee bit better, then you've got a top star. And that's obviously what I've seen. A lot of these boys, Andy being one, is obviously the most noticeable because he's now the captain of Scotland. You know, he's won everything with Liverpool, Champions League, and the Premier League. He's now captain of Scotland. A boy that was rejected and are told he was too small at that point, which, you know, it might have been the best thing for him, myself, just to, you know what, I'm going to show you and roll the sleeves up, and sometimes that fire in the belly. But they need to play. He learned first of all playing in League 2 against men, which probably equivalent to, not the standards the best, but it's physical, it's there. Then you learn me bits, and he came up one season he was at Dundee United, then he went on to the next level at Hull City, and then to Liverpool. So it just went up and up and up. And that, for me, that's the best way to do it. Is, you know, you're not a ready-made footballer. You you need to make mistakes, you need to learn, you need to be taught things, and you know, and he's done it. A great example to any kid that's been rejected.
How powerful was that when you said, if you can't afford to buy it, grow it?
I know. But then, Jackie, you identified the things that they had to work on, didn't you? You identified them and then worked with these young kids. Interesting enough, you mentioned a couple of other guys in the squad. I'm just going to ask you to put your neck on the line here, right? Can Scotland qualify for the first time in the history into the next stage of a major tournament?
I think they're going to win it, by the way.
Alan McLeod sitting in the corner. You'll remember that, Tommy.
You know, there's wee bits in me ask that, and he's like, my heart tells you in my head.
Yeah.
Remember we were in 1982, before the Brazil game, my granddad, a great man, and they interviewed them for one of the foreign TV channels. We were standing there, and I was obviously very young at the time, even my brother there, and they interviewed my granddad. And there's a few Scotland fans with my granddad, and he's like, what do you think? He says, my heart tells me Scotland, but my head tells me Brazil. And the Scotland fans are and they had to cut it, and he said, oh, sorry, we need to do that again. So they asked my granddad the same question, and Scotland. That's not I can't hear that. But no, I think it's like anything, it's going to be difficult. I think I would love us to break the mould and get to the knockout stages. Do you know what? There's no pressure on them.
Yeah.
I think we're all just delighted we're there. I think he's done a great job, Clark.
Definitely, I agree.
I think they've got a good balance between experience and a young kid at 18. He done it the last one with Gilmore.
Yeah.
Put Gilmore on and surprised everybody against England.
Excellent.
Okay, played really well. So, could be.
Just looking at Tommy's t-shirt, Callum McGregor there, how influential he could be as well. He's,
Oh, no.
he's ended the season.
Yes.
And you think he can really shine in this tournament.
I'm just looking at that t-shirt I seen, and it says El Capitano, and Jackie's not on it. She didn't get the memo.
Go and get a new t-shirt and get
Not only lifted a few trophies, knows much. Hey,
humble.
Absolutely. Celtic state of mind on a Friday night. This is what it's all about. This is Acsom from Barrowfield to the Barrowlands. Got to thank our first guest, Jackie McNamara. Join us again next Friday for a bit of This is Acsom.